Well, last week was the last debate. It happened to be in French. It happened to be carried by TVA, broadcaster I kind of used to work for back in Sun News days, and a broadcaster that my friend Eric Duhaime is all too familiar with. I wanted to bring Eric back, talk about the debate quickly, Eric, but also what's happening with the ground game for the election in Quebec. Over the next week, I want to be checking in with all regions of the country to say, okay, what's happening on the ground? So let's start with the debate. Everyone asks knockout punch. I didn't see a knockout punch, but I didn't see anyone stumble and falter either. You?
No. No, not at all. Actually, there's different things that happened during that debate. First off, the format of face-to-face was much more interesting than the consortium debate where all the leaders were together trying to talk at the same time.
Absolutely. You know what it reminded me of? Did you watch the Monk debate in English?
Yes.
Okay, so similar. They would take turns. Okay, we're going to have two of you battle it out, and then we'll bring in everyone else.
Exactly. So it's not like the five of them screaming all at the same time. And also, Elizabeth May was not there. That was already also a good addition because, honestly, her French is not very good, and it's very confusing when she's there. So it was good that she was not invited. And the other thing is, the only problem is that it was on a Friday night, and I'm not quite sure a lot of people want to watch a political debate on a Friday night. I think
junkies like us, political junkies like us, and that's
just it. The junkies like us who already know who they're going to vote for, so we don't change anything during debates. So that was not very good. And you're right, there was no knockout punch, and there was no debate about the debate or the spin after the debate because on Saturday and Sunday, nobody was around the coffee machine talking about it. So I think the impact is going to be very, very limited.
Okay, but
for Thomas Mulcair, it's a terrible news because there was already huge trends going on in Quebec. He lost over 20% in the polls over the last 3 weeks, and that's not going to stop the...
Well, I was going to say that the Nanos tracking poll continues to show in the days after the debate, the NDP losing about a point a day. And now we've got these new Ipsos, new numbers from Ipsos, showing the NDP down to 29%. They used to be close to 50. They're at 29% now, and you've got the Bloc, the Liberals, and the Conservatives all tied at 23 in Quebec.
Yeah, that means that in reality, it means that the four parties are even because when you look at the trend of the NDP, in 2 weeks, they're going to be about 23% as well if they keep going the way they are.
Okay, so does this mean a resurgence of the Bloc, or is the Bloc still looking at maybe having 2, 3, 5 seats?
Oh, it could mean a lot more than that for the Bloc Quebecois. Currently, everything is in the air. Honestly, of all provinces in Canada, with exception of BC, probably the only place where there's huge movement and where everything is possible in 2 weeks, it's really in Quebec because we have no clue. And the NDP's vote, is it going to come out? Because as you know, they're much younger. They're not as motivated. The Liberals' problem in Quebec is that their vote is concentrated in the West Island and the Outaouais region. So it's going to be very difficult for them in Francophone constituencies to win. They're going to be the kingmakers because they're going to split the votes, but they're not going to be able to win. For the Conservatives, they have the opposite problem. Their votes are concentrated here in Quebec City. So it's going to very good news for Stephen Harper's party in Quebec City. They might clean up the whole region, but after winning those 15 seats all around, where else could they grow?
They're not going to be picking up. Back in 2006, they won in the Outaouais area, just across from Ottawa. Lawrence Cannon picking up a seat there. They'd hope for some others in English areas. You're not seeing them move into some of the Anglo areas like the Eastern Townships and the like.
If they're going to grow, but the Eastern Townships maybe, but where they're going to grow if they keep going, it could be in places like Trois-Rivières. It's along the St. Lawrence River from Quebec City, moving east and west. That's where they grow. They can grow. They can bring back Rivière-du-Loup on the south shore, and they could grow to Saint-Hyacinthe. All close to Montreal, almost at the bridges. They're not going to win any seats in Montreal except maybe Mount Royal if the Jewish community rallies towards Robert Libman, but that's about it. If they have growth potential, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
And for the Bloc Quebecois, it's really surprising because, as you know, they went up in a very short period. Everybody gave them 0 seats a few days ago. Now it's looking that they could win 15, 20, even more seats.
Okay, but is their support spread out? Like we've talked, the Liberals are concentrated in one area, the Conservatives in another. Is the Bloc just spread all across the province?
That's the danger with the Bloc Quebecois, is that their votes are spread in all Francophone areas. So are they going to be able to concentrate to win some places? That's to be seen. And the NDP problem on the other side is where is it going to stop? What's the bottom line for the NDP? Because
is this all NACAB for the NDP?
The NDP could actually end up with 0 seats, believe it or not.
Okay, but is this being driven by the NACAB issue?
Of course, it started with that, but as I told you, there's many other issues where people were not really in agreement with them. It started with the Syrian refugees. Remember that? Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of issues that came up during the campaign where Thomas Mulcair was always squeezed. The war against the Islamic State, he's also in trouble on that one. There's a lot of issues where we see the disconnect between the NDP and Quebec voters. And the platform of the NDP also, Chantal Hébert underlined it in the Toronto Star lately, and she's absolutely right. The problem with the NDP's platform is that they're campaigning on a platform that is not done for Quebec. When you look at the kindergartens, $15 a day, their universal program, we already have it in Quebec. So who are they talking about?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear about it. It's provincial. It's a provincial program that already exists.
Well, this is my problem with all the parties on the left, is that they're all running to be premier instead of being prime minister. I want to get off polls in a moment, and I want to ask you about another issue that I think the NDP and the Liberals are offside Quebecers on, at least a good cross-section of Quebecers. But first I want to ask you about the polls, because not many people know this, and it was highlighted in a Léger poll for Quebecois last week. All the Quebecois media properties had it. It showed who Francophone voters in Quebec are supporting. And once again, the Liberals, and Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, less popular in Quebec among French-speaking voters than Stephen Harper and the Conservatives. And if you listen to the media party, if you listen to all the smart pundits that know all about Quebec, because they went there and they had a poutine once, they will not tell you that. They will tell you that the Liberals are big players all across the province. But with French voters, that's not the case.
I'll give you a good example to underline what you're talking about. Gilles Duceppe, Stephen Harper, Thomas Mulcair, they came here in Quebec City 3, 4, 5 times during the campaign. In Quebec City, Quebec's capital, Justin Trudeau came once, and he came because he had to, but he's not paying any attention to Quebec City. If you listen on radio here or even on TV, who's putting ads? That talks about, when you're placing your money, it's because you can win seats and you could get something back. They're not having any advertisement. You only see the NDP, the Bloc, and the Conservative. That says a lot. The Liberals are not a factor in many Francophone ridings, and it's always been like that. He's distant fourth among Francophones, and that's what's killing the Liberals in Quebec. So that's why their growth potential is very, very limited in terms of seats in Quebec. When they're going to hit 17, 18, 19 seats, that's the maximum they could go. They cannot reach the 20 seats out of 78.
All right, I want to ask you, and that's their hope. They are hoping for 20. The highest they've had since 1980 was 37, and that was back in 2000 under Jean Chrétien. All right, I want to ask you about this, an issue that I think off the island of Montreal, Montreal and Toronto are a lot alike. They are huge metropolises that are disconnected from the province they're attached to. And in Montreal and in Toronto, the gun registry among the elites, hugely popular. I don't think the gun registry or gun control in general is hugely popular outside of Montreal in Quebec. That's my experience. I go up to Bircheville, St. Gabriel de Brandon. I go down to the eastern townships all over Quebec. What does everyone have? A boat, an ATV, and a shotgun to go hunting with. I think that Tom Mulcair and Justin Trudeau calling for what in effect amounts to gun registries, I think they're offside of Quebecers. Your thoughts, Eric?
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. As soon as you get out of the island of Montreal, the perception on gun is completely different. And it's always surprising because our elites, when they publish polls about gun control, they're always surprised to find out that there's more Quebecers against it than in favor of it. They don't understand.
Well, Pierre Bruno in the debate last week said, Quebecers don't accept the demise of the gun registry. I thought, have you read a single poll on this, Pierre?
Exactly. It's very, very funny that he's mentioning that because the polls are saying the exact opposite. And it's not just one poll we're talking about. It's not over the last month or two. It's been going on and on and on forever. The majority of Quebecers are against it, but our elites are almost unanimous in favor of it. Our National Assembly votes unanimously in favor of gun control, but the population is not there, unfortunately. And that's helping Harper, obviously, on the ground. And the Bloc Quebecois on those issues also, they're very cautious. They don't take side too easily. They understand that Quebecers are not comfortable with their position, so they don't underline it during the campaign. Unlike Justin Trudeau, he takes the most unpopular issues among Quebecers and he keeps talking about it, thinking he's going to make inroads. I mean, it's very surprising. His plan is very weird.
All right, so to summarize what you were saying earlier, if we're going to look, this is about 2 weeks out from the election now. You say it's anyone's game 2 weeks from now.
It could actually be split in four. Believe it or not, almost even. They could have almost 20 seats each. If you look at the distribution right now, it could look like that in 2 weeks. It's going to be the first time in Quebec's history that we have a real four-way race, and that the end could be they're all at a photo finish, all even. It's fascinating.
Eric, great talking as always. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Brian.
Eric Duhaime in Quebec City.